foreigners and Yemenis alike are being watched. And those suspected of collaborating with the enemy can very quickly wind up in a chaotic courtroom. It's Judgment Day in the country's latest terror trial, and the young prisoner is a dubious jihadi. 19-year-old Hisham Assam has already confessed to killing his employer, a Frenchman. He appears amused by all the attention. Hisham Assam's counsel says he's a most unlikely terrorist and that the court has not heard the full story.
The defence lawyers say that Mr Assam's boss sexually harassed him, so he picked up a Kalashnikov and shot him 6 times. But the prosecution says this is no ordinary criminal case. This is a terrorist case because this man was inspired by Al-Qaeda.
There is one man in Yemen who is the inspiration for Al-Qaeda.
Do not let death approach you.
It's America's own wayward Imam Anwar al-Awlaki. He's urged every Yemeni to kill a foreigner. So therefore, every murder of an outsider is considered an act of terrorism here. Hisham Assam is sentenced to hang. The execution of a terrorist looks good for a nation that has to be seen to be clamping down on extremism. And for good measure, the judge also sentences Anwar al-Awlaki in absentia to 10 years. Jails are full of men and women accused of collaborating with extremist groups. The West has urged this country to be suspicious of its own citizens, perhaps to its own peril.
I think that there is a very high risk of radicalizing people by putting them in jail, particularly those where the association is unclear, where they are not operational. I think it's a major problem.
Caught up in this uneven, often arbitrary crackdown are foreigners. Are they here to see the sights, search for a deep understanding of their religion, or have they heard the calling of the Pied Piper of Jihad, Anwar al-Awlaki?
Some, it seems, have simply disappeared here. Others are under surveillance for just having passed through.
One traveller who has felt the sting of this renewed focus by the Yemeni authorities may surprise. Shiloh Giddens is so protective of her privacy, there are no images of her in the public domain. But we do know this Muslim convert left a broken marriage behind in Australia and arrived here in 2006 with her 2 small children. Yemen offered the chance to teach English and take on Islamic studies. But on a May morning last year, Yemeni security forces came knocking.
So the policeman came to her house here?
Yes, 2 car policemen.
Shiloh Giddens has not and won't discuss her case, but her Yemeni lawyer Abdul Rahman Barman told me she was taken from her apartment for questioning over claimed links with Al-Qaeda. Her children were left behind to fend for themselves. And while she faced interrogation in prison over the next 4 weeks, it was left to him to negotiate through a security cordon outside the apartment to feed the children.
وصلت إلى الأطفال وأعطيتهم الطعام والملابس والشوكولاتة والهدايا والماء.
Acting on information passing between the FBI and ASIO, the Australian government had told Shiloh Giddens her passport would be cancelled, a move designed to lure her back to Australia. This letter accuses her of being likely to engage in conduct that might prejudice the security of Australia or a foreign country. Her ASIO assessment argued she had an extremist interpretation of Islam. But once tipped off, the Yemeni police got to her first.
امرأة عادية كانت تعمل مدرسة وتمارس حياتها العادية الطبيعية، لم يلاحظ كل من عرفها من جيرانها ممن احتكت بهم من طلابها من أولياء أمور الطلاب عليها أي أفكار متطرفة أو معادية لأي جهة.
Australian diplomats negotiated Shiloh Giddens' release from prison. She's now back in Australia. But her treatment shows the depth of scrutiny of foreigners in Yemen, where the clampdown is motivated and rewarded by Western intelligence agencies.
الحكومة تستفيد من وجود القاعدة للتحصيل على الدعم المالي الذي يأتي من الأمريكان ومن الغرب، وبذلك تظل الحكومة اليمنية تضخم.
We have no evidence that Shiloh Giddens was involved with extremist groups, but regardless of whether she knew Anwar al-Awlaki, he was aware of her. In an internet speech last November, Anwar al-Awlaki condemned authorities for their treatment of Shiloh Giddens.
قدمت الحكومة الإسترالية طلبا إلى الاستخبارات الأمريكية التي قامت بدورها بأمر الحكومة اليمنية أن تسجن الأخت، وأما الأخت فكانوا يحققون معها 6 ساعات يوميا وهي واقفة.
Yemen is at war with itself on many fronts and is keen to show us its troops in training. There's a rebellion in the north of the country, an uprising in the south. And Yemen's long-serving presidential strongman now has the beginnings of a popular uprising to worry about. But there's another conflict here that's really the only one the US and its allies care about for now. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula has taken root in the desert here, often collaborating with tribal chiefs to establish its training camps.
Assalamu alaikum. Trevor. Hello.
Leading this country's war against Al-Qaeda is Brigadier General Yahya Saleh, nephew of the president.
We are open country to all tourists, and we cannot check who is tourist, who is terrorist, and until we find out through our intelligence agencies or through the cooperation between international different intelligence agencies in different countries.
Do you think it's possible or likely that there are Australians here, members of Al-Qaeda, in these camps?
Until now, we don't have any idea about that.
Do you think...
But if there is, you will be the first one to know.
The trail of the Australian jihadis has taken us on a detour to the Lebanese